This is a review of the new XM1 Premium tank. Now starting off, this is free to earn from the ongoing Banners of Valor event, and it can be obtained for 37,500 flags. Now this is a different vehicle from the already existing XM1 GM, but they are very similar and they do have mostly identical stats with some minor differences. So let's go ahead and take a quick start to look at some of the vehicle characteristics. Starting with the gun, it does have a 105mm gun with 480 alpha damage on its AP/FSDS standard shells. Now the vehicle also carries heat shells, but these are largely going to be ineffective and they also do slightly less damage, so I wouldn't recommend loading any of these. The vehicle also has a Hesh round, and these are going to be very effective on lighter armored opponents, so definitely put a couple of these on the loadout as well. Now with the DPM, it is on the slightly higher end with Air 2, coming at 3600. The base accuracy is also a bit middle of the road, coming at 0.35 with a 1.9 second aim time and also 10 degrees of gun depression, so this is a fairly flexible tank, being able to play a little bit more comfortably. Now for the gun handling soft stats, the XM1C is slightly worse than the XM1 G1. For the XM1C, the whole movement and whole traversal values are each going to be 0.112, and for the turret traverse, that is also going to be 0.10. On the XM1 GM, that's going to be 0.10, 0.10, and 0.1, so just slightly better on the GM, but definitely not bad on the Chrysler. So for a simplified comparison to the XM1 GM, the XM1C has slightly worse gun dispersion while moving and traversing, and slightly worse armor, but it is slightly better in mobility, so not that much of a trade-off. They are very similar, but just a little difference there to distinguish each from each other. Now this one also comes in at 52.6 tons, and it does have a strong frontal armor profile, so this is going to be an effective rammer, similar with the XM1 GM and also the Leopard 2AV. Now looking at the armor for the vehicle, it does have very strong frontal armor. The turret front is also very strong, but there are a couple notable weak spots to take a look at here. On the turret front, on the mallet around the gun, that is a 254mm plate. It is mostly flat, not all much for curve there, and there is no direct plate behind it, so that tends to be in play where you get penned more commonly right through the gun or right around it. But the rest of the turret does have a couple different space layers, so that does seem to be a lot stronger, but that center point on the turret is definitely noticeable when you're in hold on, or if you're a bit more stationary, that might be where enemies are going to aim more on you. Looking at the front plate, on the whole, it has a 220mm plate right at the front there, very similar with the M1, and behind that is another plate at 101mm, so this tends to be part of the stronger suit of the tank when angling. And then looking at the lower plate beneath, you have a 95mm plate there, which is very steeply angled, and then there's another plate further down at 38mm, so again pretty steeply angled. That's just going to be a bit more on the shell angle, depending on if it's going to pen or ricochet. And then also on the upper plate, or the top part of the front hull there, that's also going to be a 38mm plate, so for guns with a caliber of 133mm or above, that is going to be a triple overmatch, which is just going to auto pen. So there are some tanks of calibers that will be able to do that, but going to be a little bit more selective in Air 2 for tanks that do have that. As per the side profile of the vehicle, it does have a 57mm plate there, so a little bit on the lower end for MBTs at least. And yeah, it looks like that's just going to be the main one. So now for the loadout of the vehicle, let's start with the equipment. What I have on for my setup, I do have, first and foremost, gun rammer, especially if the good DPM, you're going to want to maximize that. Also run gun stabilizer, as the soft dispersion stats are not bad, but they're definitely not great, so you'll definitely want to take improvements there when you can get them. I also run additional browsers to up the whole traversal rate, as well as mitigate the terrain stats to allow better effective mobility. And then also powertrain, or sorry, now it's called turbocharger, so 5% boost in horsepower and top speed. Now I have tried a couple different loadouts, but mainly on this one I would recommend running the gun rammer, gun stabilizer, and additional grousers. If you wanted to drop turbocharger for the shell exchanger so you can seamlessly swap between APFSDS and the HESH shells, that is viable, and there's going to be engagement, so it's going to be a massive boom. That's going to come down a bit to situation and preference for what you'd want to have on the vehicle. And then for consumables, with both those equipment loadouts, you'll want to run the repair kit, med kit, and the patch hole kit. For the shell loadout, I do carry 47 APFSDS. I have 8 HESH rounds. I would recommend carrying any heat rounds. If you want to carry a bit more HESH rounds, you can, especially if you're running the swapper. You'll definitely get a little bit more use if you're able to seamlessly switch between those. And then looking at the commander skill perks, I have on Born Leader, clutch braking, off-road driving, run and gun, dynamic driving, armor angling, fire safety training, track mechanic, and supply conservation. And just to kind of explain a bit of the perk picks, Born Leader is kind of an obvious choice. I do put that on every crew that I have. For this vehicle, it has a decent traverse rate of 40. Since I'm also running both mobility equipment pieces, this is also a nice stack to have on top of that. Same goes for off-road driving. Armor angling to reduce damage received from any weapons is also a good all-around pick for many vehicles. Dynamic driving, since this is a pretty good rammer, is going to be a pretty obvious pick, especially in some of the gameplay, especially for the next 2 replays that I have showing that a bit. Run and gun, since the hull dispersion values are each 12-12, this is definitely going to be a must. And supply conservation, as patch kit is pretty meta in Cold War right now, and especially getting the repair kit back a little bit quicker too can definitely come in handy. As the vehicle has a bit weak of a side profile, and a lot of the more mosquito-based tanks are going to try to flank and dump their autocannons into you, if you do find yourself getting tracked, or if you don't want to burn your kit, or if it's on cooldown, being able to get just a bit faster on the repair speed on your tracks is definitely going to save you at least a couple hundred hit points in a lot of those engagements. And then lastly, for fire safety training, you could maybe forego this one for another perk or skill of preference. I do like having this on some of the MBTs which have a lot of fuel tank related modules. The base fire catch rate on this vehicle I do believe is 10%, so it's not the percentile that is as much the issue, so much as that you do have the module blocks 2 on the front there, so for some side shots or drivable shots that might go through 2 modules, which is going to run the save and throw calculation twice there, and then a couple on the rear. So especially with those autocannon tanks and those being a little bit more common in AR2, I just find that for some of the vehicles that do have the higher module counts for more saturation or by volume in the vehicle, that perk tends to come in handy, especially to put out the fire a little bit quicker if you do tend to catch. And now let's just take a look at a couple of replays that I do have for the vehicle.
Courage, my companions. Our duty demands it. Our enemy's fear only makes me bolder. To battle! Rebuild their armor! We lost the track. Let's hit ducks. Tracks back up. Go, go, go! That one went straight through. Tracks up. Let's go. We hit 'em hard. Only a fool would fight as you did. That one left a hole. They fall like feet before the scythe. Good hit! They're on fire! Drilled straight through! Target is hit! Target penetrated! I believe we would encounter stronger foes. The hit. One of our vehicles destroyed. A swift strike felled thee. Punched a hole in their armor. That one went straight through. They've destroyed one of our tanks. The hit was on track. It is but a scratch. I beg mercy and a chance to restore my good name.